Okay, we're recording. Great. Welcome to the Beyond the Pages podcast by Book Cream. I'm GD Sills and I'm going to be interviewing different people all around the authoring world, storytelling, creative processes, that sort of thing. So if you're aspiring to write, or maybe you've started writing, or maybe you're just an avid reader or interested in creative process, then feel free to jump on and listen to some mostly intellectual conversation. And don't forget to head over to bookcream.co.uk and subscribe to our spamless newsletters to stay up to date. And don't forget to like and subscribe. Today I interviewed Hazel Bergen, an author who is resident in New Zealand but is actually from the Netherlands, so heritage from there. She has some incredible works behind her and some great works coming up as well, and this is a fantastic opportunity to interview this author and find out more about the way that she writes, the journey that she's been on, and also learn more about the up-and-coming novels and what comes next. It's a great podcast, this one, for anyone who's aspiring to write or even wants to learn more about Hazel herself. So feel free to get involved, check out the links, and check them on the website. And without further ado, I will play the podcast. Thank you. I'm here with yourself, Hazel Bergen. I'm going to be talking about you as an author, what you do, your books, what it's about, what your books are about. Because I know you've got another one that's yet to be released. That one's coming up. So yes. Great to have a chat about that one as well. And like I say, this is really for an insight into you and, you know, your books, your influences, that sort of thing. And of course, a little bit of advice for other people who are either aspiring to write or have begun and hit that journey of writing. And we all know what that's like for those of us that have, you know, completed that. So yeah, perfect. So without further ado, perfect. So yeah, now you live in New Zealand. So you're based in New Zealand, which is fabulous. Is South New Zealand as well?
Yeah, I'm on the bottom end, the far south, deep south, as we like to call it. Yeah.
Right. Okay. So the deep south, the redneck area of New Zealand. I love that. Absolutely. Yes. So is that the warmer?
Well, they're going to kill me if they hear me say that.
Yeah, absolutely. So is that the warmer side of New Zealand then, or?
No, it's the coldest side actually, because southern hemisphere is the other way around. Yeah. So we're the closest to Antarctica, I guess. Yeah. So it's the coldest part. Right. Yeah, but I'm originally from the Netherlands in Europe, so the weather here is not colder than what I'm used to over there. So yeah.
Yes, yeah. Well, I'm based in the UK, so all we get is rain. So I'm fabulously familiar with the cold. But as Brits, what we tend to do is, if it's cold, we'll complain. If it's warm, we'll also complain. So yeah, we're never happy. It doesn't matter what it is. We'll continuously complain about it.
Maybe it's just nice to complain.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So I guess from your accent, because there's definitely a good Kiwi influence there. I'm going to assume that you've been there for a while.
Yeah, I've been here for about 10 years.
Oh wow.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I was just happily living in the Netherlands in Amsterdam, and I met a Kiwi, and the rest is history, I guess.
There you go.
He eventually persuaded me to move. Yeah.
Fantastic. Excellent. I love it. Interestingly enough, I was speaking to a really, really good friend of mine who also does a lot with writing, that sort of thing. And we were talking about language and differences and learning different things. And we were actually talking a little bit about the Dutch language as well. And we were talking about a particular word that came up where there's not actually an English or any other equivalent I can think of. Now, I'm going to pronounce it. I'm probably going to butcher it a little bit, but you should get the gist of what I'm talking about. Gezellig. Is that right? Did I hit that?
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
I think that's such a beautiful word. So that people know that I'm not making this up, do you want to explain a little bit about what it means?
Yeah, it's a bit, I guess the closest translation is cozy, but cozy has an implication that it's small and tiny, and it doesn't have to be. So it's more a pleasant state of being.
Yeah, with
other people. Yeah, so it can be outside, it can be inside. It's just a feeling, really.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, like you say, there's, aside from it being cozy, there's that social implication, isn't there, as well, with that feeling around people. And the way I sort of confirmed it, so it was being explained to me, and I was like, so an example might be if you're in a room, so say there's 4 people in a room, you enjoy being with those people, and there's absolute silence. Let's say you're all reading a book, but you enjoy their company even though you're not talking. I was like, is that it? And they're like, yeah, bang on. That's exactly what that
is. That's actually a good example. Yeah, it's more the feeling. It's not doing anything. It's just the sense of togetherness.
Yeah, absolutely fantastic. Well, if I didn't butcher that word, I'll be let off now by my friend from the Netherlands.
You're pretty good, actually. Yeah.
Well, there we go. Nice one. Thank you very much. Perfect. Excellent. So from the Netherlands, based in New Zealand now. Now, New Zealand's a really interesting point, and we talked about this before we started recording. But I wanted to raise New Zealand because throughout the COVID, the pandemic, that kind of thing, from where I'm based and being in Europe, New Zealand's kind of been hailed as a bit of a utopia. You know, it was like no COVID cases for the longest time, and we see the best of your politics, that sort of thing. But whenever I speak to someone who's based there, they never say, oh, it's extremely bad or nothing like that. But they say it's not quite as pretty and rainbow filled as everybody makes out, or that kind of. That's typically what I get told. Is that right? Or
I would actually probably be a bit more positive than that.
Fair enough.
Yeah, I think people do see the negatives, but I think the negatives come from the pandemic. And the way we've gone through it is actually, I'm really happy with how we've gone through it. And the few downsides we've had are just a side effect of the pandemic, I feel. Yeah, I felt pretty happy to be here. I felt quite lucky to be here, given a lot of my family members were elsewhere, and I saw how it was for them over there. Yeah. So we've been probably the first year and a half of the pandemic, I think, was it year and a half, maybe a bit more. So yeah, where I am, we've been almost completely COVID free. So that was quite nice, except that we just couldn't go out of the country. Bit of a bummer. So that felt pretty idyllic. It felt like we were, in a bit of a bubble. And then we've just, they've kind of strategically opened up with Omicron, because you got to open up at some point, and that was an easier one to ride out.
Yeah, that makes absolute sense. It's not been as smooth in the UK for that. There's been a lot of and ahhing, a lot of confusion, a lot of backstepping around it, and a lot of hypocrisy. If you watch news, I'm not going to get too political and go into Boris Johnson.
I watched a lot of the UK news too. Yeah.
Oh, you've seen it then. Excellent.
Yeah.
So but anyway, we're out of the worst of it now, aren't we? And life's kind of returning back to normal, and that's only but a good thing. So excellent. Right, well, we've cleared up New Zealand, Netherlands, we've gone through the pandemic and some politics. Excellent, great stuff. Now we should probably actually get onto your books now and everything like that. And because I'm really excited to talk to you about it, because I've not read them yet, but I have listened to the first chapter that you read out on your website, which I think is a fabulous idea. And I'll go through that. I will mention that again later on. But I loved that. I thought it was great. Went through your blurb, and there's a lot of thought gone into it. And I was going to ask you a couple of questions. But anyway, so if you want, should we start with when the Robins left? If you want to have to start with that one.
Yeah, that's good. I've got a copy here. So that one.
Oh, super.
Did you have specific questions about it, or did you want me to?
So first of all, do you want to give us a quick rundown as to what it's about? I mean, you could literally just go through the blurb for it, because I think the blurb is really, really good.
Yeah, I haven't actually got the blurb with me. This is an old version.
Oh, right, okay.
Should have thought about that. So basically, when the Robins left, it's a thriller. Yeah. I've struggled a bit with in which genre to put it, but I think it's definitely a thriller. It's set in the near future in Europe in the late 2030s, and it kind of shows that just the setting is how a society can gradually come to accept a more fascist regime. And but the story is more about one person. She is Roosmarijn. She is happily living, blissfully unaware of politics, with her girlfriend in Amsterdam. And at some point, kind of the outside world, or the struggles of the outside world, get into her world. And and her girlfriend needs to flee the country, and she decides she wants to help them, but everything, when they're escaping, it turns to custard. And she ends up a fugitive on the run with a boy that's not her own. It's a child of a friend. And she's just basically desperately try and get out of the country and get this boy as well safely to his mother, who has managed to flee the country with Hazel's girlfriend. Yeah.
Fantastic.
In a nutshell.
Excellent. I absolutely love that. And I totally get the struggling with the genre and where to place it. Because I had very much the same issue when I did mine. Of course, I'm not here to promote my book and rave about mine. It's absolutely all about yours. But I totally understand that struggle, because I think probably like you, I didn't set out to fit into any particular genre. I had an idea, I finished it, and then I was like, right, where does this fit now? Where do I put this? And then I was like, well, it's kind of from there, it's kind of from there, it's not really that bit, but there's bits of that, and so on and so on. So I totally get that. Now this resonates and is particularly interesting for me on two parts. So the first one is the whole fascist regime, that kind of thing. There's a big element for that. Me, when I wrote my book, there's a political stance with that. So I can't really resonate with that. The other side of it is, as well, is, of course, you're from the Netherlands. And with the history of the Netherlands, they experienced that kind of thing firsthand way back when, so it's a big thing. It's a really, really big thing. It was absolutely great. So in terms of the inspiration, then what was it that led you to this idea? Now, this is always, I hate this question, me personally, so I'm sorry to throw it at you. I hate this question because for me personally, there's always a big mix and there's never a straight answer for it. But yeah, go ahead. Where did the idea come from for this?
So I think, like you referred to before, I grew up with a lot of stories about the Second World War, and with a lot of dilemmas, or because we like to think, when we hear stories of war or disaster, we always like to think, oh, we would be the heroes, we would do the right thing. It sounds really easy. And from what I heard from the stories, I've had 4 grandparents who went through the war, and just from books and other stories, I found that it's not that clear cut. And I was trying to capture that. In the history books we read, life was fine. Then this fascist dictator came in, and most people just lined up and followed the rules, and some people didn't and fought. And I'm just I'm trying to convey that feeling that that's not how it works. That it's like a slippery slope. You go into a gray area, and the first strict rules, maybe we can relate this to COVID as well, like with vaccine mandates or whatever. The first strict rules are, maybe you think, oh, that's a bit strict, but you can accept it. And then you gradually, it gets worse and worse before you realize you're in a state that's just dictating everything. And so I grew up with a lot of that history. And my father's a historian, and my grandfather was always telling stories about the war. And I think I've been seeing what's happening in Europe over the last, I think it's say maybe almost last 20 years already. A gradual move a bit from what's acceptable and what's not acceptable. I'm not saying that my books are predictions of what will happen, but I just felt like I want to show what could happen. I feel like most people who remember the war are not longer with us. There's not that many people who remember. And I do think it's important, neither do I because I'm too young, but important to keep the lessons. So it's kind of the feeling of, I do definitely relate back to the Second World War and how things like that could happen again if we're not careful.
Absolutely. No, that makes total sense. I think it's a great way to keep it alive, because as you mentioned, there's clearly lessons that we'll learn that they need to be talked about. They have to be remembered to prevent it from happening again, if not for anything else, for sure. So that's a great reason, a great place to take the inspiration one, for sure. So in terms of writing it then, because what I wanted to do is kind of have a little bit of a theme about resilience in general, going at a task, and when you get setbacks or knockbacks, that kind of thing, getting up and keeping up at it. So in terms of writing then this, writing When the Robins Left, in terms of this one, how did it all go for you? Was it really smooth? Because everybody's different. You get people who can knock a book out really quickly. I mean, I didn't. I took 2 years with mine, so it can take a very amount of time. So talk me through that process. How did that work? How does that work for you?
Yeah. I think it took me about a year from start to finish, just to get my draft to hand it to the editor. And I like to think, because it's not smooth sailing for me. I'm not one who can, crank out a book and get it right in one go. I've done quite a bit of writing professionally before. I've done a PhD and other academic work, and I feel like I have grown some sort of resilience is a good word for it. It's also a stubbornness, I think. Yeah. You just got to stick to it and fight through.
Yeah.
So it's just the fact that you won't get beaten, and you just keep going, even when it kind of, when it's a slog through the words. So I did the first draft took me, I don't know, maybe 6 months, maybe a bit less. I'm not quite sure. I kept thinking I'm close. And then, I wanted to, took me longer. But I found that really enjoyable. The first draft I found really enjoyable. And then, going over it and rehashing and fixing the mistakes. And I'd accidentally changed someone's name and things like that. That I found, that was just a chore. But, you so close, so you want to get through it. I found it helps that it was a time I was very, very busy. And I really looked forward to the time that I could squeeze in to write. So instead of having, a whole day and you decide, I need to write, and you sit down and you're like, nothing comes out. I really had to fight to find the time. So I got an hour here and an hour there. And then I was happy to be able to squeeze some words out. So I guess it was my happy place, the first draft. After that, it was a bit of a struggle, but yeah.
Well, I love that. That's fantastic. And I think doing it in like you say, the smaller chunks there to get those words out, rather than building all that pressure, like, right, this entire day, I'm going to spend this whole day attacking this book. I think that's a great way to do it. I'm with you on that. It sounds like a very similar process to the one that I went through. I'm with you on that. I can't knock these out really quick, get frustrated at it. And I also completely agree. Getting the first draft done, that was the bit that was, I'm not going to use the word fun, but it was the bit that I enjoyed the most. I enjoyed that bit. When it comes to editing is horrendous. A lot of people say, that's the best bit. You're crazy. Editing is the hardest bit, and you're chopping and changing it. And it is a tough gig for sure. What I ended up doing, because I work a full-time job, I'm a parent of 3 small children. So I had to allocate my time quite carefully. So I did all my writing in the evening. And what I did was set the task of doing 1,000 words or an hour's writing every night, whichever came first. And I do. So just these small chunks. And it's amazing how quickly it does start to come together. I mean, not as fast as a lot of people, of course, but.
Oh, but that will add up quickly. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. Absolutely. So if we go back then to when you did your first draft, so you finish your first draft, that's that. Do you have like a feedback loop that you pass that first draft out to? Do you have certain people that you wanted to get feedback from, or?
Yeah, I have. There's a writers group here where I live, which is quite a small group of. We're all writers, and we write in different, some people have many books published. Some people are like me. I was at the start when I joined. I hadn't had anything published when I joined. So what I did was I wrote my first draft, went over it again, did a second draft to tidy up all the loose rubble that was lying around. I then sent it to an editor, which I know some people think do it after, but I sent it to an editor. And I didn't want my beta readers to be distracted by all my grammar mistakes or my typos. So I sent to an editor, and then I had a group of beta readers, and I specifically picked someone who knew quite a lot about politics, just to check how that part of the story, if it made sense, and just someone who liked reading the genre. 2 people like reading the genre, and just a few people from my writers group.
Perfect. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
In terms of that feedback, then, so when you handed that out, what was that feedback like? Was there some critical stuff there that might have been hard to swallow, or how did all that work?
I really loved it, but I'm quite good with taking criticism. I know it's it's something you learn, and I've had to learn it early on in my work. So I'm quite happy to take criticism, and I kind of took it. I told myself I'd rather find anything wrong now than leave it in and then have all these reviews that say, oh, this was rubbish or this was wrong. So I'm quite happy with people find flaws for me. And maybe some things are just opinion, right? Are subjective. Do you want to change them? Do you not want to change them? And I kept the prerogative that it was just up to me whether to change them or not. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. No, I 100% agree with you on that one. And the critical feedback is essential, isn't it? I think you have to have that mindset of, not taking it personally. And like you say, there is a difference between critical feedback and an opinion. People give me opinions all day long. If someone said to me, oh, your book is bad, well, that means nothing to me. It's like, well, that's an opinion. So, tell me, why is it bad then? And so on and so on. By the way, for anyone who's listening to this, my book is not bad. It's pretty good. So moving on. But yeah, the critical feedback side, absolutely. I had a small feedback loop, but a bit like yourself, not quite a writers group. I picked a few people that I knew were avid readers, that kind of thing, and I got some incredible feedback from it. Some stuff was hard to swallow. So there was a part with my book where I was giving feedback that was honest, and it said, basically, he wrote in these comments for it. He said that he felt like the book had gone really, really well and a lot of effort gone in, but one entire chapter let it down. He said it felt lazy. So at first I was kind of taken aback, like, lazy? Oh, this must have work I put into this. And then when I read it again, he was right. I ended up having to rewrite the whole thing, but it's worth it. You're absolutely right. That result that you end up with in the end is totally worth that. It's an interesting point. I think it's great having, like, you've got, I take it these guys are local to you then, your writers group, or?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, perfect. Yeah, absolutely. I think the online world of social media, and I'll raise this just for any budding authors or anyone that's interested in coming into this, there are a lot of writers groups, that sort of thing, on Facebook, and some of them are great. You've got some really supportive people in there, but there doesn't seem to be much of a scale. Either they're absolutely fantastic and supportive, or you get other people that are quite negative and quite toxic, and you need to stay away from them. So those people definitely exist. You got to be careful of those guys. For whatever reason. Anyway, perfect. So when was When the Robins Left? When was this released now?
It was the 1st of February this year, 2022. Yeah.
Thanks. Excellent. Great stuff. I did mine on the 22nd of February, and then the Russians stole my thunder 2 days after with Ukraine.
Oh, how dare they?
Can you believe that? Upstaged by Putin. What a nightmare.
Oh.
Anyway.
Otherwise, it would have been the news. Your book would have been the first story.
100%. Yeah, absolutely. BBC, they had it lined up and then knocks off. No, I'm just kidding. That's all. Well, yeah, so absolutely. So no, that's really good. It's great. And I think it's great that you've got the second one lined up so quickly as well. I think that's fantastic. But before we go into your up and coming one, if we can just segue slightly into your short stories book as well, because I noticed that on there as well. Tell me about that. So where did this come from? Because it's a combination of 3 short stories, isn't it, together, I believe?
Yeah. I'll tell. This is 100% my writers group. So we do this challenge or assignment voluntarily. It's all short stories, and we have different themes. So sometimes we just randomly draw 3 words, and then everybody needs to write a story incorporating those 3 words. Or recently we did a retelling of a fairy tale, which is actually not in that collection book yet. But it will. I'll add it. I forgot what we all did for assignments, but we always come up with different. Sometimes you get a starting line, or anyway, I use those short stories to try different things. So I'm try a different point of view than I normally do, or a different character than I normally do, or I try a different tense than I normally do. And I find, because a short story is quite good, because it's long enough that you can actually make story, but it's short enough that you can just get it done in between the rest of your work.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I find that really good. It's really good for my skills, really. And then we all read each other's stories and we critique them. And because I had all those short stories, I put them together, the ones I had at the time, which was 3, and I just do them as a free giveaway on my website to get people, if they want a taste of my writing, they can have a look. Yeah, and they get a free ebook, and if they like it, they might like my other books too. Yeah, so I keep doing short stories, I think, continuously. I did another one last week. To hone my skills, but also, and I'll just keep adding them and give them away, to trick people into reading my stories. Yeah.
Fantastic. No, absolutely. And that totally makes sense. I agree with you. Those short, sharp bursts of creative writing, and it's something fresh as well, because I'm sure as a writer and an author, when you're doing a project, sometimes you can get distracted. All of a sudden, you'll think of an idea, but God, this is an amazing idea. I've got an idea for another project. And you're like, no, can't let that take up my mind just now. Jot it down. I'll put it away for now. I'll finish this one. But I think short stories are a great way to kind of appease that kind of feeling that you want to divert a little bit. I think that's a great way to do it for sure. Excellent. Great stuff. No, I absolutely love that. And the fact that it's a free giveaway as well, like you say, it's a great insight into someone's writing and how they write, because that's such a big part. I mean, you can have the biggest plot ever, but if it's not written, in a particular taste, it can turn a lot of people off. So no, that's absolutely fantastic. What you've also nailed as well, and coming into your up and coming release now as well, what I had a look for is when you read the blurb of an introduction for the first book, what I look for is spoilers in the second one to see if there's any kind of sign as to what's happened. You've managed to avoid that. I love that. It's fantastic. So there's no giveaway as to what's happened.
Oh, yeah. When I hadn't done that on purpose, but yeah, that's right.
Oh, there you go. There you go. Absolutely. So it's one of the things that I kind of look for. So it's like, will the second one give away the ending of the first one in the blurb? But no, you've completely sidestepped that, which is absolutely fantastic. So it's a follow-on from the same story, same characters, is it, for the second one?
It's a smaller side character of the first book is the main character of the second book. So the way I envisage this series is that because I first wrote the story of Rosemarijn in When the Robins Left, and then there was this interesting side character in that book, and I thought I had all these thoughts in my head of what was going on with her, and I thought people may want to know, what happened behind the scenes. So book 2 is a standalone. You can read it without reading book 1. But it looks at that other character, and it's not just about the time book 1. It just follows her through the events that happened in the first book, in When the Robins Left, but it continues with her adventures after that. Yeah.
Brilliant. Fantastic. And when is it scheduled for release?
So I've put the pre-order very far out. I'm trying to get it done this year. That's probably as much as I can. Yeah, I think it will be December 2022. Yeah, but I'll have to
fabulous. Yeah,
work hard to stick to it.
We'll put that down as an approximate date.
Yes, yeah. The pre-order is up, and the pre-order says May 2023, and that's just as kind of a safeguard, because I'll obviously get it out as soon as it's ready.
Absolutely, yeah. Absolutely perfect. So that's exciting. And do you want to tell everyone what the title of the upcoming novel is? We've just called it the upcoming novel so far.
Yes, it's Where the Rooks Flock. I've stuck to the bird theme. It's kind of a similar form of title, but yeah, it has, like When the Robins Left, it has a meaning in the book.
Great stuff. Yeah. No, I like it because you've got this, When the Robins Left to Where the Rooks Flock, that leaving and coming together. So no, I think that's a great way to say it. It's fantastic. So I'm keen, of course, not to take up your entire well, this is my evening, so it'll be your morning. I'm keen not to take up your entire morning, but just a couple more questions to ask you. So one of the questions I love asking people who do write and who write books, that kind of thing, is what was it that led you to pick up the pen and write a book? What was it that led you to that?
I've always been making up stories. And I like to think when I was a little girl, when I was a child with my parents, living and my 2 siblings, this is going to sound a bit silly, but we always used to go on holiday often in France, which is a terrible long drive from where we live. So in my mind, it feels like days, but it wasn't days. But it would be like, I don't know, 14 hours driving or, awful, like we did when we didn't fly that much. And I used to get through all that time by just lying, closing my eyes and making up stories. I had all these stories happening in my mind. And the hours just, the hours just went like that. So I was always making up stories, and mostly at that time I was the hero in my stories and blah blah blah. But
absolutely,
you could do whatever you want.
Yeah, absolutely. Why not? Why shouldn't it be you? Brilliant.
Exactly. Why shouldn't the 6-year-old be the one who saves the world? Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, and so I did a little bit of writing. I've always enjoyed it, and I wrote a novel. That was the intention, I think, when I was like 13 or 14. Not sure I still have it, but it was really, really bad. But it was, a really nice process to go through. Yeah.
Fantastic.
So after that, I've done a lot of writing professionally. And I quite enjoy writing, even though it's harder professionally, I think, than for pleasure. But yeah. Yeah. So only actually in 2020, I should say, I picked this one up. I started When the Robins Left. I did kind of a full start about 10 years prior that I thought, okay, I'll write a novel with National Novel Writing Month, which is in November, and it's this event. But people try to write a novel in a month. And that didn't really happen back then, also because I was moving continents.
That's a tall order. An entire novel in a month. I'd have no chance. But yeah, go on.
No. But I did it again in 2020, National Novel Writing Month, and I didn't finish a whole novel. The idea is you do 50,000 words, and they say that can be a small novel. And I did finish 50,000 words. So that was, I got half my novel done, which was a good kickstart to the process. Yeah. So November 2020 was when I got, half of it done, and continued after that. Yeah.
Fantastic. Excellent. Perfect. So one final question. And so I think that's a great thing to, like you say, making use of a solid imagination. I think that's what it's all about. I think when we become an adult, we're at risk of losing that spark, losing that imagination, becoming a bit boring. But luckily, people like us exist, so that doesn't happen. We write books.
Yes.
Yeah, that's fantastic. So, perfect. And one final question then for you. In terms of your influences, what authors do you kind of look up to? Who are your heroes?
I like to think my writing is a bit of a mix between, I guess, the Millennium series, that's Stieg Larsson, and The Handmaid's Tale. Yeah, Margaret Atwood. They're both a bit speculative. What's that?
Yeah, sorry, I was just sorry. I've got a bit of a lag there, so I just completely interrupted what you were saying there. I was just going to say The Handmaid's Tale. It completely blew up, didn't it? Out of so quickly, like that has gone massive, and it's got a massive following. Yeah, absolutely, perfect.
Yeah, and it's interesting that it was published in the 80s.
Yeah, absolutely. It's not super recent, is it? And then of course the TV show that followed it as well kind of blew it up as well. But yeah, great stuff.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah. And there's a few other. I quite like children's authors. I don't write children's books, but I quite like children's authors that treat their readers like full humans. Not patronizing. Give them real dilemmas, give them real issues and choices. Right. So I quite like Astrid Lindgren. She's a Swedish author. Like, she wrote Pippi Longstocking, which is maybe not my favorite of hers, but she has quite a few other books that deal with like serious issues like death of a sibling, or like, which is the brothers Lionheart. I think in the first 10 pages, this is not really a spoiler, the brother dies, which is, quite full on for a children's book.
Oh, yeah.
Or kids who disagree with the crimes that their parents are committing. So I find that quite, proper dilemmas. Yeah. So I really like her as well.
Perfect. Yeah, no, it makes total sense. I thought you were going to say like a kind of Roald Dahl sort of thing, because what I love about what he did was he kind of just saw the funny side of adult life, and just, it's almost like a prep for, look, don't take this too seriously when you grow up. These things will happen,
Yeah.
and so on. I think it's a great way to look at it. Perfect. Well, excellent. Thank you.
I must say, I love Roald Dahl as a kid. I read all of the books. Yeah.
The Twits was my favorite. I hammered that book. I absolutely loved it. But yeah, he's superb. Absolutely superb. Yeah. Perfect. Well, excellent. Well, I'm keen, like I say, not to take up your entire morning. It is for you.
That's okay. Yeah. I've got to go to work.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll let you get on. But thank you so much for joining me. All of your website, this will be in the links in the description for this podcast. I encourage anyone to jump on, check it out. I will be reading it myself as well. It looks really interesting. You've of course got your free materials on there, and if for nothing else, people should definitely jump on there for that. Excellent. Perfect. Well, thank you very much. Thank you for joining me on today's podcast. Remember to head over to bookcream.co.uk and also check out my novel, The Commodore and the Matterless Martyr. It's got a bit of sci-fi in there, a bit of fantasy. It's a timeless novel designed to challenge the moral compass and perceptions of the reader. It's a very, very, very much a layered read. Check it out on the website. I won't go on about it anymore to you guys, but it's well worth checking. It's available on Amazon and Kindle Unlimited as well. Thank you.